Now the truck's gone by. Here's the scenario. You've been working on a bunch of parts, on aluminum parts. You've been jumping back and forth between 4043 and 5356 filler wire. And you didn't throw away the wire into the non-retrievable tube that you have over here that we talked about in one of the 5-Minute Fridays. I believe it was 96. So, how do you identify 4043 and 5356 filler wire if the tags have been cut off or burnt off on either end, and for some reason it's not marked throughout the wire, which most of them are, but a lot of them aren't. So I'll show you 3 different ways you can figure it out really quick. Two of these are kind of parlor tricks, but they work really well. And one of them you can even do with your eyes closed, and you can kind of do it as a joke if you just wanted to say, like, I can tell the difference between 5356 wire and 4043 wire with my eyes closed. And we'll start with that one. That's simply drop it on the ground. That's 4043. That's 5356. 5356 has a much more tinny sound when it hits the ground because it's a little bit more brittle wire. It's a little harder of a material. I believe it's got more silicon in it, which is what it causes it to do that, but not 100% sure exactly what it is that's in that makes it do that. But it's a really, really simple way to figure it out. You can even just drop it on your bench and hear the difference. The next one's going to be bending the end of the wire. And if you're bending the wire, see how it rolls over 90 degrees like that? And then this one here is a lot harder and it bends a little bit more of a radius. It's a lot harder to bend it, and it kind of wants to roll over. It doesn't want to kink over. So that's another way to check to see if you have 5356 wire and 4043 wire. Remember, 4043 bends really easy, and 5356 wire really doesn't want to bend very easily. Like, to get it to bend over, it's pretty hard. So that's another trick you can do, but you end up bending the end of the wire. For the third option, this one you can actually do while you're welding, and it's a little bit hard to see at times, but if you're really paying attention and you know what you're looking for, you can pick it out. And I tried to get a couple arc shots of it, but I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick it up very well, but I could try to see if I can point it out. With 4043 filler wire, you just have a nice clear clean puddle. Like, there's no colors, there's no nothing, it's just a nice clear puddle. And depending on what type of hood you've got, you may notice a couple different colors here and there, like oranges and browns and stuff like that, but for the most part it's going to be just a nice clean clear puddle. Now with 5356, when you add the filler wire, you're going to notice a really slight green haze to the puddle. And if you can see that green haze and you know you're supposed to be using 4043, something you're not using the right filler wire. Or more importantly, vice versa, if you're welding parts and you're not seeing that little green haze when you put the filler wire in, do the drop test or bend the end of the wire and see if you're using the actual right wire. Now, I say all of this because in the past, there was actually an issue that we had with one of the shops I was working at. We were welding parts for Boeing. The parts the company that was welding were aspirators, and those, they blow up the emergency slides that come out the side of the plane. And they got anodized after the fact, after they were welded and all machined and stuff. And you use 5356 filler wire for anodized material. And when a whole batch of these parts came back, all the welds were just little stitches, were all black. and that's because they used 4043 filler wire. But to their knowledge, they used 5356. And what actually happened was the manufacturer of the wire labeled the wire wrong. And everyone thought that they were using the right filler wire, but lo and behold, they were using the wrong filler wire. Now, if that were to happen again, if you're really paying attention and that happened, you're using 4043 filler wire on a part that needs 5356, and as you're welding and you notice there's no green haze as you're filling the wire in, you might want to do, like I said, do the drop test, do the bend test on it, and just see, did the manufacturer mess up? Odds are probably not. I mean, it's a very, very low likelihood that that's going to happen again, but it happened. I was there. I wasn't welding those parts, but I was definitely in the welding area when that happened, and no one caught it. Not one single welder in the whole shop caught it until they all came back, and everyone was blamed for it. Everybody got blamed for, why'd you use the wrong filler wire? Why'd you falsify information? And it was like, everyone's like, we didn't use the wrong filler wire. We used this tube right here. Here's the paperwork. Here's all of our documentation. And, you know, they traced it all the way back to the manufacturer. But like I said, if you were paying attention and you happen to notice that when you're adding that 4043 filler wire and it's clear and it's supposed to be 5356 and you're supposed to have that little green glow, just a light green glow in the puddle, could have saved a lot of money. So hopefully this helps. If you have some 4043 wire and some 5356 wire, give it a shot. Look at the puddle as you're adding that wire in. Look at it and see if you see that green glow. So hopefully this saves your butt one day.